What is going on, guys? Your shredded brother from another mother, and I got a question for you at home. Do you know your exact fat loss macros? Not only the amount of calories that you need to eat to burn the optimal amount of body fat, but the exact amount, the magical number of protein, carbs, and fats to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat every single week, to keep your lean muscle mass, so important. And number 3, to optimize your training intensity on a fat loss diet. We're gonna cover exactly how to do that in today's video. It's gonna be 5 simple steps, less than 5 minutes. This is the exact information that many of the top Instagram online trainers are charging $200 and $300 for. I'm gonna give it to you 100% free. Let's get into it.
You ain't got no gains. You ain't lift no weights.
So I encourage you to follow along very closely. I took a lot of time to make sure this information was 100% accurate. If you follow along, I guarantee you that you will lose 1 to 2 pounds of body fat every single week if you just follow the 5 steps I'm gonna lay out in this video. And by the way, you might be wondering where I am. I'm actually just outside my apartment here in downtown LA. Cool view here. That's actually the tallest building in Los Angeles, the Intercontinental Hotel. Give you guys a little tour of LA as we talk about fat loss macros. So, in theory guys, how much you eat is much more important than what you eat. Now, this is actually shown by Mark Hobb, this guy, professor of nutrition, who ate donuts and cupcakes and a bunch of junk food and still lost like 30 pounds of fat in 12 weeks. But remember that pesky little goal that we had, not only to lose the most amount of body fat, but to maintain our muscle mass and maintain our training intensity. That is why the macros, the protein, carbs, and fats have got to be on point. Step 1 of 5, we're going to calculate our basal metabolic rate. Now, what this number means is the amount of calories that you would burn if you stayed in bed and just watched Netflix all day, literally did not move other than to go to the bathroom. Hopefully you move to do that. This is a very important number, so I'm gonna throw a link in the description below. This is gonna give you the calculation on how to figure out your basal metabolic rate. So another cool thing about this, actually not so cool when you get older, is your basal metabolic rate will go down as you start to age. So that's why what you eat at, say, 18 years old is not necessarily going to be the same thing that you can eat at 35 years old to shred. So make sure that you pay attention, fill out the accurate height, weight, age. Let's go to step number 2. Step number 2 is a tricky little bitch. Something called the Harris-Benedict equation. Now, if you're an overachiever like myself and you got a B+ in community college calculus, I have faith in you that you'll be able to figure this out at home. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna check out that second link. You're gonna take that number, the BMR, very important number that we figured out on the last step, and you're going to multiply by the activity factor. So it gives you 5 different categories, and this is gonna give us our shredding macros. So step 2 is figuring out our exact fat loss calories for the day. Then we're gonna break down the macros. So figure out how many times you work out per week, and it gives you kind of like a breakdown on that link. So if you work out 5 times, there's a specific activity factor. And also, I would bump it down 1 if you just know that you have trouble losing body fat and you have a desk job where you just sit if you sit for like 8 to 10 hours every single day, I would definitely like do 1 notch lower than it says. This is gonna be kind of like a high-end estimate. So if you're an endomorph, maybe do 1 notch down. If you're an ectomorph, just go based off how many times you work out a week and just disregard if you have a desk job. So you're gonna figure out your shredding macros by taking the BMR times your activity factor and then subtracting 500 from that number. So my number is 3,300. This represents the maintenance calories. So in theory, if you had 3,300 calories, or if I had 3,300 calories every single day, I would stay exactly the same. So we need to subtract 500 from this to lose at least 1 pound of body fat. So take that BMR times activity factor, subtract it by 500, and we are ready for step number 3. Step 3, 4, and 5, the most important part of the video, the protein, carbs, and fats. So do me a favor before I get into that, give this video a big like, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. I guarantee you I have 5 times better content than I've ever thrown up on this channel coming up in the next couple months. I'm bringing fire, guys, so make sure that you subscribe, hit that post notification bell, and also, what do you guys think of that new Childish Gambino music video? I'm a huge fan of anyone creative with talent, and I've actually been following him for a really long time, so I thought that music video was really interesting and really creative. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll throw it in the description below as well. But let's get into how to figure out our protein, the most important thermogenic macronutrient. Protein is so important. When I say thermogenic, I mean fat loss. Thermogenic equals fat loss. Now, protein is muscle sparing, and it keeps our insulin levels nice and low, which is optimal for fat loss. So we're gonna have a very high protein diet on the fat loss plan. Now, we're gonna have a range of 0.9 to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. So, how to figure out which range that you fall into. You're gonna notice as you start to get really lean, you're gonna wanna up the protein, because remember, protein is muscle sparing. The goal of this fat loss diet is not only to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat every single week, but we wanna maintain our lean muscle mass. So important. So as we start to get really lean, you're gonna wanna increase your protein. So like I'm at like 9.5 to 10% body fat right now. As I get to like 8.5, 8%, I'm gonna slowly creep up my protein intake. So if you're starting to shred at like 12 to 13%, relatively lean, can sort of see abs, I would start off on the high end and go 1.1 to 1.2 times your body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, that means you're gonna have 220 to 240 grams of protein every single day. You're gonna wanna spread it apart through each meal, keep those amino acids circulating in the bloodstream. Now, if you're starting the fat loss diet and you're really overweight, like 40 to 50 pounds overweight, you're gonna notice that you don't need to be as, I don't wanna say careful, but you're gonna lose weight really fast regardless, as long as you're in a deficit. So I would say go on the lower end, like 0.9 times your body weight. So definitely wanna make sure you have at least 0.9 per pound of body weight at the very minimum. So if you're normal, like you can't see your abs but you're not obese, I would say is a good guesstimate, do 1.1 times your body weight. Now let's get on to step number 4, the carbohydrates. So remember at the very start of the video, I promised you that it would be individualized for your exact situation. Carbs and fat intake is going to have the biggest range as far as body type goes. So if you are an endomorph, you have a lot of trouble losing body fat, you're going to want to be on the very low end estimate for carbohydrates and the higher end estimate for fat, just to keep the insulin levels low for a longer period of time. Now, if you're an ectomorph like myself, you burn fat a lot faster, you have a fast metabolism, you're a skinny dude before you started working out, you want to be on the higher end of carbohydrates and the lower end of fat. The reason being is an ectomorph, carbohydrates are going to be the most sparing. Insulin is extremely anabolic. So as an ectomorph, we want to make sure that we keep all of our lean muscle mass and we don't basically turn into skin and bones as we're in a deficit. So with that being said, figuring out the carbohydrate intake. So carbs are going to be the trickiest to explain, and it's not tricky at all, guys. It is so simple. Just eat your carbs around, all you keto lovers, eat your carbs around your workouts. Now, figuring out the carbohydrate intake. On non-workout days, we're gonna get this number much lower than on training days. So on non-workout days, I would actually go all the way down to like 0.5 to 0.75 grams per pound of body weight. So 200 pounds, you'd be eating 100 to 150 grams of carbs, and try to eat those earlier in the day. Breakfast would be an ideal time to eat the majority of your carbs on a non-training day, as when you get up, your cortisol levels are higher, and cortisol can be extremely catabolic, which means it's going to basically eat away your gains. So we want to consume the majority of our carbs at breakfast time on a non-training day. Now, on a training day, I recommend eating some carbs for breakfast and then eating our carbs before, during, and after our workout. So I would eat 100% of my carbs, regardless of my body type, of being ectomorph, endomorph, or mesomorph, breakfast, pre-workout, intra-workout, post-workout. Now, the range on training days is anywhere between 1 to 1.25 grams per pound of body weight. So me, I eat about 225 to 300 grams of carbs on training days on my fat loss diet. Now, I'm an ectomorph. I don't have a very hard time losing body fat, so if you know that you're an endomorph, like I said, you want to be in the lower end of this estimate. So if you're an endomorph, you still want to be eating carbs at those specific times, but you might want to dial it back to maybe at the very lowest, like 0.75 to 1. So say you're 250 pounds, maybe dial it back to 200 to 225 grams of carbs. But it's a good estimate if you're just like normal, somewhere fall in the range of like the body types. I would eat at least 1 gram per pound of body weight of carbohydrates. Now let's get into, last but not least, step 5, the fats. Fat is actually very, very important because if we drop our fat too low, what happens is we have extremely low levels of testosterone. We're gonna lose training intensity, we're gonna lose muscle mass. So with that being said, we don't want to have fat too high either, because remember, fat is 9 calories per gram, while protein and carbs are only 4 calories per gram. So like say for instance you eat 5 avocados and 5 tablespoons of olive oil. In theory, these are really healthy foods, but just off the top of my head guesstimate, that might be like 1,500 calories. So it's going to be a lot harder to be in a deficit eating a ton of fat. So as a general rule of thumb, the very lowest you ever want your fat to be to make sure you have at least stable levels of healthy testosterone when dieting is going to be 15% of your total daily calories. So remember that number that we figured out in step 2, the fat loss calories. At the very lowest, you're going to take that number, you're going to multiply by times 0.15. So say that number is 2,500. You're going to take 2,500 times 0.15, and that's going to equal, I told you I got a B+ in calculus, guys. Not an A-. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but I know for me, let's take an easier number, 2,500 times 0.2. So yeah, let's say for instance, fat's gonna be 20% of our daily calories. You're gonna take that number, our fat loss calories, so say mine's 2,500, you're gonna take 2,500 times 0.2, that's gonna equal 500. And then remember, fat is 9 calories per gram, so we're gonna take 500 divided by 9, and that equals approximately 55 grams of fat. So I would say as a range, you want to have at the lowest 15% of your total daily calories coming from fat. At the absolute highest, maybe on a non-training day, or if you're an endomorph, it's going to get close to 30%. So 15 to 30% for fat, and make sure it's healthy fat, not a lot of trans fat, or you're gonna notice that even though you are getting in healthy fat, your testosterone levels still could be really low. I'm gonna link to all my other fat loss and nutrition videos in the description below, because I've covered so many different facets of nutrition over the last year on the channel. And that's how you do it, guys. That's how you calculate your perfect fat loss macros to lose 1 to 2 pounds of body fat every single week, maintain our lean muscle mass, and not lose training intensity. So important, because remember, if we can maximize our training intensity, I want to give you guys this equation. If you can maximize your training intensity in a caloric deficit, that's going to mean more hormones secreted post-workout. That's going to mean a faster resting metabolism post-workout. And that is why I said 1 to 2 pounds per week, because these are the calculations to figure out 1 pound, but the X factor is going to be in the hormones, guys. And also, one more thing, if you guys want a complete step-by-step system, not only with the diet, but the workout programs to maximize your fat loss hormones, burn fat 24 hours around the clock, I'm gonna give you guys the 50% off discount code for Science of Abs 2.0. Obviously, I just helped you guys figure out your fat loss macros. There are a few other components to maximizing your fat loss that I follow throughout the year, such as refeed days, such as high intensity interval training, and such as weighted abdominal workouts in a deficit. That's exactly what is in Science of Abs 2.0. So I'm gonna throw that link in the description below. By the way, guys, really funny, I just realized I was filming next to a dumpster the whole time. Is that Kino Body? Gregory? Just kidding, I love Kino Body. I'm just gonna show you guys one more view here. The sun is starting to set in downtown LA. Cool view here of the Intercontinental. And make sure you guys hit that notification bell. I'm planning for the next upload. I think this video is gonna go up on Friday. The next upload is gonna be my Tulum vlog on Sunday. I worked so hard putting this video together. I wanted to just make a really fun vlog because I'm kind of burnt out on only talking about fat loss topics and shredding. I just wanna make a fun vlog. I went to see the world's coolest gym called Tulum Jungle Gym, and it was epic. I did a kind of an all-day vlog showing you around the town that I was in Mexico. So definitely be on the lookout for that video on Sunday. And I just wanna thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel. I actually just got my silver play button. I'll show you guys in a future video here soon, the 100K subscribers silver play button. So thank you guys so much for helping me make my dreams a reality and inspiring people to get fit and boost their confidence, get shredded with a life. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna sign off from now, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
If you ain't heard about gains, you don't know about
Superhuman TV.
Troy.
You ain't got no gains. You ain't lift no weights.